Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be dating. It's all in the numbers. Well, I've got an interesting email here today. It's from a woman, and what's interesting is that she's been dating, trying to find herself a really good guy, and she realizes the numbers really suck, and she's thinking like most women think, which is, where the hell are all the good guys? They're either gay, the good ones are all taken, they're either gay or they're married. And what's interesting is she also is dating women. And so she's finding the same thing with women, that most of the women are, seems like 97% of the men and women are just really undesirable. And so she's got some questions, in my opinion, on that. Looks like she lives over in Europe, and she's thinking, hey, is there something wrong with the country I'm in? Because I can't find anybody good, hardly. So I got a quote that I wrote on this particular topic, and I'm going to go through her email. And the quote says, most people you will encounter in your life journey are never going to reach their full potential. As Dr. Dyer says, it's never crowded along the extra mile. Most people give up and are too afraid and run by their fears to ever become all that they can. If you are reading this, or listening to this in this case, then you are likely in the rare 3% of people who have high standards for themselves, want the best that they can get, and are unwilling to settle for a life of mediocrity and disappointment. Unfortunately, the world is full of people who are sleepwalking through life and who will try to drag you down to their level. Therefore, you must remain ever vigilant and only allow people into your inner circle and spend your time with those who have the same high standards, drive, and desire for greatness. So she says, hi, Coach Corey. I wrote to you a few months ago to say thank you for helping me understand women more, and you helped me realize that it's not that I'm putting men off, but I have high standards. I want someone better, and there aren't many real men about. I've been dating lots and having fun, but still lots of first dates with 97%ers, and although it is fun, I've met some really interesting people. I've also started dating women too. There's probably a lot of guys out there going, ooh, that's hot. She says, I'm greedy. I understand that someone needs to be the leader in a relationship or things get confusing and there's no sexual polarity. With men, they have to lead, but with women, I prefer to lead. Isn't that interesting? Since I've been dating women, I've got to admit the quality is about the same as with men, and there aren't many who I date, so I'm wondering whether you think there's a 97% of women too. That's the reality of it. I mean, especially if you're watching this video and you read self-help books and you're into self-improvement, and you look around the world, I mean, 1 to 3% of the people make all the money, they build all the businesses, they have all the wealth and the lifestyle and all the kinds of toys that most people say they'd like to have. And so it's very rare. And just like the quote I shared earlier, like Dr. Dyer said, he said it's never crowded along the extra mile. And I mean, when we think about that, I mean, it's true, because most people give up in their dreams. And so we're all of us, men and women, we're all swimming in a sea of people that are just kind of, they're zombies. I mean, you see them on the road. I'm sure everybody watching this has been driving along and they had somebody that rushed to get in front of them. They pull over, they get in front of them, and then they slow down. It's just, there's a lot of obnoxious, or you get people, you're driving in the left-hand lane, and then you got somebody that wants to go 10, 15 miles under the speed limit. And even you get it right on their bumper, they don't give a shit. They're just like spaced out, gacked up on fucking prescription medication, whatever it happens to be, or they just don't, they don't give a damn. And people like this are everywhere. If you're trying to start a successful business and you grew up in a family, or you have family, or you have friends, and none of them are entrepreneurs, they're not, and you want to ask business advice, you're not going to ask somebody that doesn't have a successful business any business advice. If you're in great shape, if you go to the gym and you take care of yourself, but you come from a family or you're a peer group where most of them don't take care of themselves. When somebody's disconnected from something that you're connected to, they tend to attack that. If you're in really great shape and they're out of shape, they're usually going to have something negative to say. Oh, I got a thyroid condition. Oh, I'm big bones. Oh, I just don't have time. I don't have time for that self-help book. Or they're bitching about their job all the time and how bad it sucks. and they go, I don't have any time to look for a new job. I'm so busy as it is. And it's the story that they tell themselves. And because like when I was younger and I really started applying self-help, and it's like hanging out with my high school friends. I started moving towards the things that I want, and the overwhelming, I looked around, to me it was like common sense. Why doesn't everybody study self-help? Why isn't everybody concerned about being really successful and having a great life? It's like most people are just content to go punch a clock somewhere and earn a steady paycheck and just have everything mediocre in their lives. They have bland lives, they have bland relationships, they live in a bland house, they have bland peer group, they have a bland family, and they just given up. It's like they're on a conveyor belt to the grave. They're here to punch their clock, raise a family, not really get that excited about anything, complain about the way things are, and attack people who are like us, meaning those of us watching this video, trying to get somewhere. They don't have anything positive or uplifting to say. And so it's like I went through my 20s, it's just all those, it's like when I was in high school, I thought everybody thought the same way. And then as you get a little older, you get into your 20s, it's like those people just kind of start to fall by the wayside. Even a lot of friends that I made when I was working for other people. As I started my own business, I just started hanging out with those people less and less, and started to hang out with more people who were success and goal-oriented. And especially if you're learning all this stuff about dating and relationships, pickup skills, seduction skills, think about the title of my book, How to Be a 3% Man. In other words, the things that you learn from me, most people aren't going to know. And the people that do need to know these things, and who say they want to improve their dating and their relationship life or their life in general, they won't do what's necessary. Because they're too afraid, they've given up, or the story that they tell themselves, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough looks, I don't have enough education. And so they don't take any action to help themselves, and they never get anywhere. And it's really hard, especially, like I remember when I started my first business, and I was leaving Syntex Rooney, and I was walking around seeing my goodbyes to everybody, and they were all like, oh boy, that's really risky. I mean, you bought houses in that neighborhood? Oh God, I don't know. I sure wouldn't want to do that. And there was only one guy that said, you know what, Corey, I think it's great. Young kid like you going out and starting your own business, because you can always come back and do this shit. And he was an entrepreneur at one point. He had his own business, a family business, for many decades. And then in the early 90s, when the recession hit, he had a lot of jobs where he had money outstanding on, he never got paid on. And because he was a subcontractor, he ended up having to file bankruptcy and ended up spending the rest of his life working for a big company. And so he understood the journey that I was embarking on, and he'd been there. And so he was the only one out of probably 40, 50 people that I worked with that encouraged me, that thought it was great what I was doing. It was like, you fucking go for it. But the overwhelming majority of people, and so I'd studied all this self-help, and I had believed in myself, but I'm thinking a lot of these guys are smarter than I am. And if people that are smarter than me aren't starting their own business, what makes me think that I can do it? And so those are the things that you think, because I didn't have any experience starting a successful business from scratch at that point. I believed in myself, and I thought someday I could figure it out and be possible. But those kinds of things make you second guess and doubt yourself. And so when you're around people like that, and say that's your peer group or that's your friends, and you start sharing things that aren't going well, or oh, I just spent $5,000 in this and that didn't go anywhere and lost, and then you're like, wow, you should quit that and go get yourself a nice steady job and not stress out about this or that. And so when you're surrounded by people that aren't taking the same kinds of risks that you are, it's really hard to get, it's like being stuck in quicksand almost. People just don't have a positive thing to say. And as you grow as a person and you apply the things that I talk about in your dating and your personal life, most of the people aren't going to know these things. It's like most of them are just fucking zombies. And like for me, I'm very particular with the kind of women that I date. I want a woman that's in great shape, takes care of herself, eats healthy, very spiritually focused, growth-oriented, entrepreneur, has her own business, somebody with similar goals and similar values to me. And I know how hard it was over the last 20-something years that I've been an entrepreneur and built several multi-million-dollar businesses. I know how hard it is, but most people don't do that. And to find other like-minded people that have the same goals, have the same values, it's really hard to do. That's why you don't really need to go looking for it. You just need to focus on creating an awesome life for yourself and hang out with like-minded people And keep searching for like-minded people, like-minded peer groups that you can hang out with and associate with, because those are the kind of people that they can understand your problems. They can understand what you're going through. That's why you see a lot of famous actresses and celebrities tend to date other celebrities, because it's shared experiences. They understand what each other is going through. A lot of successful CEOs like to date very successful women as well, because again, how can you come home when you're having a problem at work and you're running a multi-million-dollar company and you're dating somebody that maybe bags groceries for a living? Now, not anything wrong with that, but that person's not going to understand problems that you may have with 2,000 employees. They just can't relate. So let's get back to her email. She says, I haven't found one woman who's hot, intelligent, friendly, enthusiastic, and interesting. I've started conversations with over 50 women this month, and they seem to be about as bad as the guys. Some take over 10 days to reply and give one-word answers. She says. That's the way it is. Like, you may have heard me say in videos to guys that are trying to improve this area, ask out 100 different women over the next month and keep a log of it. It's really interesting when you do that, because the numbers work out to be 10 to 12 of them will go out with you, and 3 to 5 of them will end up sleeping with you. I mean, some people, you can tell they like you, and then you make a date, and they flake on you. And you think, what the hell? I'm certain they were into me. It's like, you just don't really know what's going on inside somebody's head. Maybe they don't think they deserve to be with you. And if they don't think they deserve to be with you deep down, whether they're conscious of that or not, or maybe it's an unconscious belief they're not even aware of, they're going to sabotage things with you because they feel intimidated. They don't feel good enough being with you. And when I've dated women that weren't as successful as me, I would hear a lot that they were intimidated by me and my success. And it's frustrating, because I thought, hey, this is a great girl. But because it's not your job to fix somebody, though. If they don't believe in it themselves, there's not a lot you can do. It brings to mind another quote, something that Wayne Dyer said many years ago. And he got it from somebody else. I can't remember who, but it says self-actualizing people must be what they can be. I'm a self-actualizing person. In other words, I'm a type of person, I have a vision, I know what I want, and I go for it. I have to do that, because to not do that is painful. It literally would be physically painful to do that. That's why I'm always trying to get better. That's why I'm always trying to improve, to grow more, to contribute more, to do more, to grow my business, to find other ways that I can get my message out and teach the things I know to as many people as possible, because when they apply the things that I teach, it helps them. Some message me 8 times a day and get bitchy if you don't reply. Well, what does that tell you? They're insecure. There's a lot of insecure women out there. There's a lot of insecure guys out there. And that was the thing, and I wrote about this in my book. When I was learning this stuff, when I was used to getting rejected by all of the really beautiful women that I dated when I was in my 20s, I thought all I got to do is get this part fixed, and there'll be lots of great girls that I can date. And then once you get over it and you start behaving properly, you start to realize that women are just as fucked up as the guys are. They just tend to be a little bit better, because women are 5 to 10 years ahead of guys as far as their maturity when it comes to dating and relationship and the whole interacting with men and women. And then you start to see them for what they really are, and you realize some people you go out with and you think they're drop dead gorgeous, and they're dumber than a bag of hammers. You go out and they're not very interesting, they're not very enthusiastic, or all they want to do is complain about what's not working in their lives. And you think, fuck, be positive. That person's just so far gone, they're so stuck in their story, it's just a waste of your time. Some sound totally miserable and sound like they have no passion for life. Some give you all the chat, and then when you suggest meeting up, they flake out, or you meet them and they have zero confidence in person. It's really a numbers game. I mean, you just got to keep dating, and it's like, especially if you're applying the things that are in my book. So I say all the time, repetition's the mother of skill. Because not only do you want to help yourself and improve your skills, but you want to take the things that are in my book so they can help you weed out all these people. And that's what I think is great about her, is that she's learned all these things that are in my book, and it's really opened her eyes to the fact that most people just are not in the same place that she is. And the more successful you become with members of the opposite sex, the more you're going to realize really great, if you're a guy, really great women to date they're very rare. Ones that have the same goals, same values, they're ready, willing, open, they're able to have a relationship. And same thing with women. Not a lot of guys out there get this stuff. Not a lot of guys are great catches. So it's very incredibly frustrating because I get a lot of emails from women that are like, where are all the good guys? That's, again, another reason. If you're a guy, by learning the stuff that's in my book, you set yourself so far ahead of the competition. So I'm actually starting to believe there are about as many as 97% men as there are women, unless it's just my part of the country. I might consider moving, haha. It's like it doesn't matter what country you're from. It's every country, because I have clients all over the world, and they encounter the same thing. Because when you really start focusing on self-help and personal growth, most people they're not interested in that. And for those of you that got friends, you're like, hey, there's this great book you need to read, Coach Corey Wayne. You might even bought them a copy of it. They haven't even cracked the first page yet. And you think, this stuff's really helped me. It's like, and you just watch them. They just keep failing, and they don't change their approach. And then you suggest something to them, and they give you their story. Well, I got my own way of going about it. I got my own thing. I just got to find the right person is what they keep saying. And eventually, since they don't change their approach, they just end up settling for somebody that they're really not that into and getting married to them, and then both of them make each other miserable. It's really sad, but that's the reality of the world we live in. But the good news is by applying this stuff, you become another example in your peer group, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your country. And at the end of the day, the word lead means to go first. By you becoming successful and improving your own life, you inspire other people to do the same thing. She says, I'm not really looking for a relationship at this point, just having fun, growing, and learning. But I think if I were, I'd need to be dating at least 8 people a week to get through the numbers. Have you found this, or do I actually need to move to America because it's just English people? They're the same. People are the same everywhere. It's just the way it is. The more successful you become at applying the things that are in my book, the pickier you're going to get. And actually, you're going to date fewer and fewer members of the opposite sex, the better you know the things that are in my book. You know, guys, when they first get started and they've never had this kind of experience, this kind of success, they're basically fucking everything that moves. But after a while, they're like, this is great, but, having sex with somebody that you're not really into, that's kind of like glorified masturbation in essence. Because sex is a small part of a relationship. You want to date somebody or be in a relationship with somebody that you actually like hanging out with. I mean, think about it. How often do you meet a new best friend? It doesn't come along every day. Or if you're in business, how many, out of all of the clients that you have, how many of them are the type of clients you go, I really like working with that person. I really like having them as a client. I enjoy seeing them. I enjoy catching up. And sometimes some of those clients might even become good friends of yours. When you think about it, it's very rare. And if you're here watching this video, you're a rare and very special person. And therefore, you deserve rare and special people in your life who are focusing on the same things and being great like you are. Don't tolerate bullshit. And when you see a 97%er out there, send them love, wish them well, but keep moving on in your journey. Don't try to fix people. And don't try to give people advice who aren't open to it. That's another thing I used to do when I was younger. If somebody's open to it, great. You're happy to help them. Hey, there's this great book. You should check it out. Here's this great website. You should check it out. If they're open to it, if they're at the point in their life where they know they need to make a change, then they'll go check it out. And if they don't, they won't. Don't feel bad about it. Just focus on taking care of yourself. And again, you got to get through the numbers. That's just the way it is. But the more experience you get and the more dates you go out on, what's great about that is you start to see patterns. When you talk to people on the phone, you start to recognize, that's why it's important, if you're single, you should ask out 100 members of the opposite sex on a monthly basis. Because you'll start to notice that the more you do it, the more you realize that what's the people that are like you, how they talk, how they act, how they are when you ask them on a date, how they are when you ask them for a phone number. And then they get to the point where you're not going to ask out very many people on a monthly basis, but when you do ask somebody out, you're going to go out, you're going to have a great time, and it's going to be easy and effortless because you're going to know what to look for. But in the meantime, you can have a hell of a lot of fun as you're practicing and learning these skills because you never know when that right person's going to come along because it's really all about your own vibrational intensity. It's about what you do in your own life and the state that you put yourself in because you got to become the kind of person that you want to attract. So again, get through the numbers. And if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the Products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.